When it comes to testing in isolation, you're going to need to mock objects. And that means rather than executing all of the code in this other class that we're not concerned about right now, we're going to replace that with a mock and simply perform an expectation on that mock. This allows us to test more quickly and in isolation, which is very beneficial for low-level unit tests. So in PHP, the premier implementation is Mockery. To pull it in, we simply require Mockery/Mockery and then the version that you want. I'll simply reference devmaster here. Now we can run composer update to pull in that package. Once that is finished, you'll see it within the vendor directory, like so. Now, as easy as that, we can use it within our test classes. Let's create a sample one. We'll call it test/foo_test.php, and then we'll fill this up with some boilerplate, foo test. Now let's say within our test method, we'll just say test Mockery. And all we want to do in this lesson is just make sure that we can use Mockery. And then in future lessons, you'll see more examples on how we actually do that. Mockery is accessible in the global space, so I could say Mockery, mock, and then pass the name of a class to mock. So imagine that we want to mock something like acme/bar. We'll say there's some class like that within our project. And in fact, let's go ahead and create that now. Edit source, bar.php, give it a class name of bar, and then a namespace of acme. And then finally, I will composer dump because we aren't using PSR0, so we have to explicitly reload that autoloads file. All right, so now we have this class, but we're going to mock it. I'll save this to a variable called mock. Now we can perform an expectation on what should be called. So maybe there's a method called run, and we'll say return running from bar. However, when we are testing some other class, we want to mock this and instead say mock should receive run how many times? We could say times 2, or if we just want to say it should be called once, we can write once and then return mocked. And that's it. That's as easy as it is to use Mockery. So now let's try it out. Let's just run var dump, mock, run. And then if I run PHP unit, and as easy as that, we get mocked. So this is really powerful even if you don't yet realize it. And just to confirm, if I were to say bar equals new acme/bar, and then we were to update this to bar run, of course you're going to get running from bar. But now we're mocking it. We're going to mock acme/bar, and then we're going to write an expectation that the run method should be called. And then when it is, we're going to return mocked. And sure enough, when we run PHP unit, that's exactly what happens. Notice, however, that if I comment this out and I run it, we're still strangely going to get green. Why is that? And that's because with Mockery, we need to specify within a teardown method that we want to close Mockery. Mockery close. Now if I run it again, notice that we're going to fail. Method run from acme bar should be called exactly 1 time, but it never occurred. If we add that back on, we get green. All right, so that is the absolute basics of Mockery. I don't want to go into too much more until we discuss dependency injection very soon. Just know that Mockery gives us a way to swap out actual classes with mocked versions. Then we can perform expectations on what gets called, rather than, for example, just triggering this run method when we are working on some other class. We're not going to be concerned by that. We don't care what happens when run is called. We simply care that run is called, and that's what Mockery allows us to do.